It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chilliefalls.
Hey, good morning, and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast. Somebody stick up a flag if you can hear me, because I couldn't hear the first part of the intro, but now I can hear myself, so I'm hoping I'm going through. Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Steve. You guys hearing me okay? Somebody put a yes in, please. I hope it's a yes. Anyway, it appears that I am definitely on and should be hear me. I can hear you. Thank you, Cindy. All right, so welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast. A bit of a crazy morning here at the farm. As many of you know, Jason, my son Jason, and my granddaughter Katie got here last night. We had a nice dinner, sat around and talked with the family for several hours. There may have been some adult beverages involved. Maybe. They'll be out by the pool. The pool is open. It's not ready to swim yet. They took the cover off day before yesterday, started everything going, the filters going, getting the salt back to level and all that kind of stuff. And then they came back yesterday and vacked again. It's still pretty dirty. Definitely not worth swimming. It's going to be way too cold to swim, even though it's nice and hot right now. Those 40-degree nights, it's going to take a while to get past that. So anyway, so we do have quite a bit of, well, we don't have quite a bit. We got some news this morning. So let's just get things started. Welcome to the Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast on this Friday, June the 6th. Coming to you from my studio in Forest, Virginia, right outside of Lynchburg. Brought to you by the 2025 World Cruise on Crown Princess, Will U.S., the owner of Scootaround and chilliescruises. The headlines this morning, the lead story is Star of the Seas Godmother announced. I'm excited about that because I've met her before. U.S. Magnifica to take over World Cruise. Juneau dropped from Itineraries. Carnival cancels Australian cruises. A last-minute change for Valiant lady. AIDAluna assists in an Artic rescue and a crew member rescued. That and lots more live here at 11 o'clock this morning. Today, folks, especially for my law enforcement pals, today is National Donut Day. I like donuts. Who doesn't like donuts? I don't eat a lot of them because I am working on my way. By the way, folks, this is Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, I got on the scale and it's the lowest weight I've been in 30 plus years. So, I mean, I'm still a long way away from where I want to go, but that's at least a good sign. All right, anyway, have a nice National Donut Day. Go out and get a donut. We got several of the food trucks around here that do donuts they're expensive, a buck a piece or so. But man, they're good and warm. I can't beat it. All right, this day in history in 1933, the first drive-in theater opens in Camden, New Jersey, which of course immediately triggered a splurge in the pregnancy rates. Folks, it didn't say that. I added that on my own volition. If you're a podcast person, you can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net. AccessAdventures.net's been a busy place here lately. You need to be checking that out every day because we're getting lots of stories in to be posted. We're following Nate. We're doing some of the stuff from my travels. It's just a really busy place right now, which is good. All right, so we got several things to cover this morning before we get to the actual news. This is day 7 on the world cruise that Nate is on. He tried to send me something overnight, but the file was too big. He couldn't send it. I sent him a link in case he was available this morning, but it's 11 hours different, so it's 11, so it'll be midnight tomorrow night, something like that, in Australia. He's still in Australia. 2 days ago, he was in Sydney, and of course, that's the money picture with the Opera House and the bridge. One of these days, I hope to see that. That's the Crown Princess in dock in Sydney, and that's the ship again looking over at the Opera House. You can see how close he actually was. That, I think, is a koala that's either got her head behind one of the limbs. I can't imagine what else he would take up in the tree. I think that's probably a koala, and we just can't make it out. We do, however, know what that is, that little rascal under the tree there. That's a roo. And that's another one. And that is Nuradaya, Australia. I think that's the name of a zoo or a rescue place. Anyway, that's where Nate visited. Again, if I had him on here, he'd be explaining these. That's another picture of the harbor back over toward the bridge and the Opera House. I believe I see his ship there to the left of the bridge. So this is probably when he was out on an excursion, I'm guessing. Just a guess. And that's an entrance to, I don't know what. That's from Nate and Sydney. I do need him to fill in some of the blanks. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Up over in Hawaii, that's Mount Kilauea, shooting lava and flames 1,000 feet in the air. I mean, when it blows, it blows. It's been all week it's been doing this. All right, so Rochelle is back and she's in St. Martin. This was the La Salette Church and on the French side of St. Martin. And this is, wow, what was the name of it? It's a bar. I mean, it's interesting that Rochelle goes to a bar and a church, but that's okay. Oh man, I can't think of the name of the bar. Anyway, that's in St. Martin. All right, now we were kind of following my buddy with his mom. Where is Fraser? Where'd your other picture go? We lost a picture of Fraser. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick, because that was the best picture. Let me see. There's I got that one. I got that one. There we go. Take this one. We'll pull this one up real quick. This is Fraser and his mom. They're on the Balmoral, P&O Cruises Balmoral. And that's, they were in Copenhagen a couple days ago. That's Fraser and his mom. I sent him a message. I said, I want to know if mom's is behaving. I didn't hear back from him. So it's the second cruise he's done with his mother. This is in Copenhagen. And then they transited the Kiel Canal. And that's Fraser on the Kiel Canal. And this is Sylvia in Chicago. She did an architectural cruise while she was in Chicago. I'd like to hear more about that on getting on and off the boat from her chair. She has the same chair I do, the Will Model C2. All right, so that's just a few things from what is going on in Chillie's family around the world. Okay, where did Sylvia go so I can take the picture off? There we go. All right, I'll be back with some news, folks, after a quick break from one of our fine network sponsors. Okay, we're going to start off this morning, guys. Something that I'm pretty excited about. Music legend Diana Ross has been named Godmother of Royal Caribbean's upcoming cruise ship, Star of the Seas. This honor continues the maritime tradition of appointing a godmother to bless and protect a new vessel and its passengers. Ross will participate in the ship's naming ceremony held in the Aqua Theater when the vessel launches from Port Canaveral. Star of the Seas christening will be held in August of 2025. Expressing her enthusiasm, Ross stated, "I am truly honored to join the Royal Caribbean family, having spent years creating beautiful music and memories and bringing people together from all over the world. This feels like a perfect continuation of my journey as godmother of Star of the Seas." Ross, the queen of Motown Records, whose talent as lead vocalist for the Supremes catapulted her to stardom in the 1960s. All right, so what I wanted to share with you in addition to that, some of you have heard this story before. Because we've got a lot of new folks out there, I'm going to share the story again. So those of you that have been around a while, just turn your brain off for 30 seconds. Okay? So when I was in college, Jason's mother, my first wife, was in charge of the student center board that did all the concerts for the university. I was travel director, so I did trips on holidays. But because Sarah and I were dating, I would help with the concerts. And after the concerts, we had a party we always invited the group. We also had invited any of the kids that helped with the concert, whether they were ticket sellers, some people to help the groups bring their equipment in, whatever. Anybody that had, ticket sellers, anything that had to do with putting on a concert for, 15, 20,000 people, which is what we were getting at the main concerts. In addition to that, I co-hosted a local talk show, television talk show. And it was called The Dale Wright Show. My co-host, the star of the show, was a former singer, pre-Elvis, who went to work for Dick Clark and eventually ended up in Lexington, Kentucky. And he and I hooked up doing this show. He was the Johnny Carson position with the Ed McMahon personality, and I was the Ed McMahon position with the Johnny Carson personality. But one of the things I was able to do when we had concert groups come in was to bring them into the studio. It was a live show, bring them into the studio for an interview on the show. Diana Ross and the Supremes was one of our guests. And so I got to not only interview her on a TV show way back when on WBLG TV in Lexington, Kentucky. But then they came to the party after the concert. I became a huge fan in those days of Motown. Aretha, Smokey Robinson and America. I mean, just goes on and on. They had just such awesome music and awesome groups. But the Fifth Dimension, that was another one of my favorites. But anyway, so it was nice to meet that. Now, Diana Ross was not, how can I say this? She was not the bubbly, friendliest type of star. She was more reserved and kept to her own quite a bit, but still around us because we became like family, at least family for a couple days. So there always was a good time. So anyway, she's now going to be godmother of Star of the Seas, which means, of course, I'm not going to go do the godmother business. That's too expensive and too many people. But I will do Star of the Seas just in her honor. So, all right. Remember last year, Magnifica? That's a ship that Gary Older Than Dirt and I've been on twice. Liked the ship a lot. Loved the crew. And then they picked up the World Cruise for MSC. They weren't supposed to do it this year, however. The MSC Magnifica will take over MSC Cruises' 2027 World Cruise, which is initially set to take place on board the MSC Musica. According to a press release, the 2,550 guest ship will embark on the global voyage after undergoing a major refurbishment in late 2025. Departing from ports in Italy, Spain, and France in early January 2027, the 121-night cruise is set to visit 45 destinations in 25 countries. If you're interested in the Magnifica World Cruise, call me. 434-258-9264. I'll happily hook you up, either on a segment or the whole cruise. Thousands of guests are booked to visit Alaska in 2026. However, they're learning they won't be going to one of the state's most important and historically significant cities. Royal Caribbean guests booked on different Alaska cruise dates aboard Ovation of the Seas have been informed that Juneau is being removed from their itineraries. Not all sailings are being adjusted the same way, as some travelers report that Icy Strait Point is being added. Others catch can as Juneau is removed. Royal Caribbean has not provided any details other than port availability changes as to why the capital has now been dropped from the various itineraries. That said, just days ago, officials in Juneau unanimously approved increasing dockage fees on cruise lines, changing the fee structure from the vessel's gross tonnage to its passenger capacity. Not saying that's why, but that certainly makes an interesting conspiracy, doesn't it? And I have the feeling Ovation of the Seas isn't all we're going to hear on this subject. Are you planning on a trip to the land of the rising sun in the near future? Scootaround, powered by Will, is excited to announce that we now have mobility scooters and electric wheelchairs available for rent in select locations across Japan, including major tourist destinations like Tokyo. You can book online today or call Scootaround at 888-441-7575. Use SRN 11137 or call me at 434-258-9264 for a mobility scooter or power wheelchair in Japan. Carnival Cruise Line canceled a series of cruises that were set to take place on board the Carnival Adventure in Australia in 2027. According to an update sent to travel agents, the affected sailings were scheduled to take place between May 17th and June 14th in 2027. Carnival said that the cancellation were a result of a short-term change in itinerary plans for the Carnival Adventure, which previously sailed as P&O Australia's Pacific Adventure. Guests who booked a 5-night round-trip cruise out of Miami on Valiant Lady, which sails today, were notified of a major itinerary change just 2 days ago. Due to engine maintenance, you will now visit Grand Turk instead of Puerto Plata on day 3. The notification continues. Your visit to the Beach Club in Bimini will also now arrive at 8 a.m. rather than 9 a.m. So far, no compensation has been offered. On the night of June 3rd, the German-flagged AIDAluna participated in a coordinated rescue operation within the Arctic Circle after individuals were discovered adrift on a raft near Spitsbergen Island. The emergency unfolded around 11 p.m. local time under harsh conditions with air temperature hovering just above freezing. Upon spotting the raft, AIDAluna's bridge team immediately sprang into action and assumed an emergency holding position while initiating coordination with local rescue authorities. A helicopter was dispatched to the scene to assess the situation and carry out the extraction. Meanwhile, preparations on board included informing passengers, placing medical personnel on alert, rendering tender boats in case a ship-based rescue became necessary. Ultimately, the individuals in distress were successfully airlifted and transported to medical facility in Longyearbyen, the main settlement on Norway's Svalbard archipelago, for evaluation and treatment. A dramatic rescue took place Tuesday afternoon at the port of Sauda in Crete after a 30-year-old cruise ship crew member fell into the sea under rather unclear circumstances. The woman, a Tunisian national working as assistant seaman aboard a Bahamas-flagged vessel docked at the port, went overboard for reasons still under investigation by Greek authorities. The Greek Coast Guard responded swiftly, deploying patrol vehicles, a vessel, and a launch to assist in the rescue effort. A life jacket was reportedly thrown from the ship as part of the emergency response. The crew member was located and recovered by a Coast Guard vessel. She was conscious upon retrieval and was immediately assessed by the ship's medical team, who confirmed her condition as stable. World Cruise 2025 on the Crown Princess. This is the segment that I would love to take, and yes, folks, there's still openings for this year. Sails August the 20th from New York to Sydney, 36 days at sea. This segment starts in New York City with stops in Miami, Cartagena, Colombia, full transit of the Panama Canal, a couple stops in Peru, and multiple islands in the Pacific. Fares start at $41.69 per person based on double occupancy. Sorry, folks, there's no good solo deals yet, but we'll monitor that situation. If you might be interested, give me a call, 434-258-9264 for the August 20th segment of the 2025 World Cruise. All right, and that puts an end to the news portion of today's show. Let's go over in the chat room and see if anybody is fussing at me today. Steve's with us. Cindy's with us. I spoke to both of them. Hot Air Tom's here. Sitting here eating a donut in honor of National Donut Day. Good for you, Tom. There's Mike from the other side of the pond. Bob's with us. Says, good morning, gang. Going to the Thunder Nationals at Bristol this weekend. Oh, that's cool. I might have come down there and done that, except now I got company. I've never done those before. That would have been an interesting thing to do. Todd's with us. Good morning, Todd. Hot Air says we need to know if a block and tackle was involved in Sylvia's boat loading. Yeah, I know. I'm just curious. Of course, she's a lot lighter than I am, but if the chair weighs the same, yeah, I might be 10 pounds more because I know she doesn't have the same wide body that I have for my fat butt. But yeah, I'm curious to ask her how she did that. That'll be interesting. Kenneth's with us up in Pennsylvania. Kenneth says, happy Friday. We leave for Pennsylvania in the morning. Still a long ways from your place, though. Yeah, well, Pennsylvania is a pretty good size state. Todd says, great show today, Chillie. Thank you, Todd. There's Roger says, hi from Jacksonville. Hi, Roger. I was talking about you last night. I showed Jason the book you gave me, the Ted Williams book. Jason's a big sports fan, too. Jason's been a Pittsburgh sportsman all along. He never got the Boston. Yep, that's the Pirates on his arm. So, by the way, folks, that ugly critter back there, that's Jason. That's my bouncing baby boy.
Much more handsome.
Oh, yeah, much more handsome. Yeah, he keeps telling himself that. There's Joanne. Hi, Joanne. Late again. Well, we're going to have to beat you with a spaghetti noodle. Yeah, that's just definitely what it's going to have to be. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the weekend. Again, I will monitor things over the weekend. We haven't had any, humongous big news stories, which, it can break loose at any time. So I will keep things monitored on the weekend. I'm not going anywhere. With, of course, Jason and Katie here. They'll be leaving Sunday, but I'm not going to get out and do something on Sunday, I don't think. But anyway, maybe next weekend we'll do something. Go someplace. Take some film. Maybe by then I'll be able to get in the pool. Chillie needs to put his weather tracking hat on now. Yeah, I had it. I didn't check it this morning, Hot Air Tom, but I will check it right now. Come to think about it, I know there was a system right off the East Coast that could develop, but it had not developed. Let's see if it has. No, there's no activity in the Atlantic at all. So the system that was right off the coast of Florida did not develop. In the Pacific, however, there are two systems. One right off the coast of, well, I guess that's right off the coast of Honduras. Oh, no, it's off the coast of Mexico now. Looks like 50% chance in 48 hours, 70% chance over the next 7 days. And the second system, which is a little further to the west, 50% over 48 hours, 80% over the next 7 days. They're going to continue going parallel. Who knows? They might form together and form a humongous storm. That has happened before in the Pacific Basin. So yes, Hot Air Tom was right. I need to start checking that every day. I mean, we've had one, system in the Pacific already. And so, yeah, I should be on it constantly. Weather hat, Elmer Fudd. No, I'm not going to wear the Elmer Fudd hat for the weather. I'm trying to get away from Elmer Fudd. Actually, it's the label that's on the hat that I'm trying to get away from, but that's neither here nor there. All right, guys, that is going to wrap it up. As always, smash that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, we started moving a little on subscriptions again. But if you have not subscribed, please consider doing so. It doesn't cost you anything. We do this at least 3 days a week. Beyond that, it could be 4, 5, 6, or 7 days. And we just go over news in the travel and cruise space, which involves weather, obviously, as well. So the two things that we don't talk about on this show are politics and religion. And that's because I don't care what your politics are, what your religion is. I'm going to treat you the exact same way that I've always treated you. So it doesn't matter to me on which side of the aisle you're on, politically or religiously. Is that a good word? All right. That's it for today, guys. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas, have a fabulous Friday, and a wonderful weekend. This is the old fat travel guy. I'll see you next time.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chilliescruises.